Thank you for coming out on this cold evening. Got an agenda on the table you could kind of follow. We'll probably stick pretty close to that. We didn't know how many folks were going to come out. Hey, Dave, you can come over here. We didn't know how many folks were going to come out, but we may have longer to speak in our opportunity to share. I want to first thank you on behalf of our great city, and the person to do that for us all is our Vice Mayor. Will you help me welcome our Vice Mayor, Mr. David Briley?
Well, I don't know why Sam asked me to do this, frankly. Perhaps it's because I've been around the longest on the council, or maybe it's because I do remember shopping at the old farmers market, not when it was at the square, but when people pulled their trucks in and you bought out of the back here. Maybe it's because I'm a strong supporter of local farming and everything that's happening at the farmers market right now. Or maybe it's because I walk here from downtown from where I live almost every weekend to shop. But for whatever reason, Councilman Coleman asked me to come and welcome everybody. I'm glad to do it because this is an important part of our city. And so welcome to Nashville's Farmers Market. And I'm not going to take up any more time because I like to run a tight ship. And I will now ask Tasha Kennard to come up and the executive director of the Farmers Market, and add some more welcomes.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And for Chairman Coleman, I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Members of our community, very familiar faces out here. We have a couple merchants as well. Those that are representing city and state government and our board. So our staff, we've got a couple staff members that are here and several more on the way. So again, welcome to the Nashville Farmers Market. And I want to, before I share any more remarks, I do just want to thank Chairman Coleman specifically for rallying this effort and encouraging the Nashville Farmers Market and all the other entities that the Codes Fair and Farmers Market Committee oversees to be great stewards of the public services and have open communication and offer opportunities for people to gather together and express ideas and share concerns and move forward together. So I think that's a really exciting opportunity that this new council body is presenting to the community, and I look forward to working with them. As our community and our market continues to grow and improve our program, we do just want to reiterate that we're very committed to community engagement. And tonight is the second community listening session that we've hosted at the market since November of 2015. We'll be continuing to offer community engagement opportunities over the course of the next 18 to 24 months because we've got some really exciting opportunities ahead of us. And so with that said, I would like to turn it over to Councilman Freddie O'Connell to continue some introductions.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. My name is Freddie O'Connell. I'm Metro Council representative for District 19, where we are sitting. I'm proud to have the Nashville Farmers Market exist as a part of my district. And though the Vice Mayor might have elected not to speak to this, I've got a pretty good idea of why Chairman Coleman invited him to participate tonight, and that is having, as a newly elected member of council, I am extremely impressed by our Vice Mayor's deliberative process of appointing individual members of committees as well as their chairs. And following that, the person who will speak immediately after me is the chair of the Codes Farmers Market and Fair Committee, and I have to commend him for his level of engagement as a committee chair as well. Chairman Coleman invited me just as a courtesy to participate in a resolution requesting that the farmers market offer some additional information to Metro Council for our decision-making process. I was happy to do so. He also approached me, as well as Councilmember Colby Sledge from District 17, in whose district the fairgrounds sit, to say that he was doing this listening tour with his committee. And I think this is a great addition to the listening work that has already gone on by Ms. Kennard and her staff, and as well as her board of directors. And I certainly, as a representative of this area, of this market, I'm going to be listening carefully tonight as well as at future sessions. On our way here, we did just receive, as members of council, from the mayor's office a letter indicating some potential changes, and I'm very glad we've got Rich Riebling on hand from the mayor's office, but I imagine we will get to that update here in just a few seconds. But it is my pleasure to introduce the chair of the Codes Fair and Farmers Market Committee, Councilman Sam Coleman. Thank you.
Thank you, Freddie. I'm not going to be very long. Just want to introduce our Codes Committee. We have Dave Rosenberg, a member of the committee, Jim Schulman, a member of the committee, a longtime council member and friend, and our intern, Brandon, who will be working the clock for us. So these will be the guys that's sitting up front that will be able to listen at what you said so we can file the necessary reports. Without further ado, I'd like to bring up Mr. Rich Riebling. Mr. Riebling and myself and members from the mayor's staff had an opportunity to talk. I'm very excited about what he's going to tell us. I think there are some good plans in the future, and after a while, after it's all said and done, for the next hour and 20 minutes, you'll have a chance to step up to the microphone and share your concern. But without further ado, would you help me welcome Mr. Rich Riebling? Thanks, Rich.
You gonna grab that? All right.
Yes.
Cutting into my time there. Is the 3 minutes running or not? No. Okay, not for me. Okay, good. Good. I can filibuster for a little while then after that. Just use 20 seconds. Yeah, well, that's always a good ploy I use. Thank you all for being here tonight. As Sam said, I come here from the mayor's office, and I want to also introduce John Hull, who is Assistant Commissioner with the State of Tennessee Department of General Services, and I want to talk a little bit tonight together about sort of a new opportunity at the market and this property, and sort of a continuation of what I consider a really outstanding partnership between the city and the state for the overall redevelopment of sort of this whole area, the Bicentennial Mall area. Without the state's cooperation, First Tennessee Ballpark, just a block or so away, would never have happened. And so we feel like we have, the administration, the city has a great relationship and a partner with the state, and sort of what we're going to talk about for a few minutes today is sort of embellic of that. So as Councilman, I think Coleman pointed out, Councilman O'Connell pointed out, earlier today we did send out, the mayor's office on behalf of the mayor sent out some correspondence just to alert the council and the members of the Farmers Market Board of some proposed legislation that was going to be filed tomorrow that essentially amends the lease agreement that the city has with the state relating to the farmers market property. As you may or may not know, this land is actually owned by the state, and the city leases it for the farmers market purposes under a many-year lease. I'm not sure, John, how long it is? It's a total of a 60-year lease. 60-year lease, so it's a long-term lease. And so what you also probably have read about is in coming months, the state has a very exciting new project also for this area called the new State Museum. And John's going to talk to you about that in a few minutes and give you a few details about that. But the purpose why I'm here really is because of the state's needs to build a museum and the need for some additional space. I've worked out an arrangement over the past several weeks, which again we file with the council tomorrow, which essentially amends the lease with the state and takes the north portion of the property where the north sheds are, and reverts that back to the state. And in return, the city is going to receive $4 million for that property, for basically giving up its lease rights to that property. What's important from the market's perspective is that $4 million is going back into the market. It's not going to be used for any other city purpose. But what we have talked to the staff of the market with is taking about $3 million and using that for improvements to the facilities, both the market house and the north shed and the south shed rather. And then about $1 million of it would be set aside for some operating losses, operating reserve, because as you can imagine, during the transition of construction and renovation here and the loss of some income from the north sheds, the business model for the market is going to have to undergo a little bit of a change. And while they're working on that, we'll have some operating reserves to help supplement the budget to not dip into the other revenues of the city. A couple points for your consideration is you need to understand that, again, this has been a partnership discussion with the state. The state has the right to cancel the lease at any time. So the state could come in tomorrow and give us notice and say, we want the farmers market gone, and then it would just be a matter of negotiating over the price. That exists in the lease agreement today. And so what we're doing, instead of, we determined that it's in our interest, the mayor's interest, we want the market to remain, and we want the market to remain strong. And John may address this, but in the new museum design, there's no food court, there's no food outlets in the new museum, and so I view this as an opportunity for new customers and new business opportunities for the market itself. Excuse me? Well, Mr. Hull will talk about the State Museum here in a moment. So the benefits we see it to the museum, or to the market long term, we're going to get some additional parking, which we're going to share with the State Museum, which is much needed. For those who come to the market know there's a need for parking. And I think more importantly, we're going to expand the customer base. You think about the number of school children that are going to attend the museum on a daily basis, as well as other visitors, there's a natural new market for the farmers market going forward. And so, as I close, I'm going to ask John Hull to talk a little bit about where the state is on the museum project, and just give you a little overview of that. Then I'll finish up. John.
Thanks, Rich. It's a pleasure to be here tonight with you. We have enjoyed our relationship with the city. Certainly, we have worked very closely with them on the Farmers Market project with the museum, and so we're very pleased with where we're at this point. The new Tennessee State Museum will be actually built a little bit beyond the Farmers Market on the piece of property where our current state employee parking lot is. That's the actual physical location of the State Museum itself. The State Museum is going to be about 130,000 square feet. It has a budget of $160 million. It is a project that is being led directly by the governor, actually, and so we're very pleased to work on this project. And so the project is in the design phase at this point. We're just going through a lot of iterations and options, frankly, for the exterior and the interior, but those design teams are actively at work at this point in time. And so we're very pleased. We're right on schedule for our project, and we think that this museum should be open to the public probably by early fall of 2018. So we estimate that we will break ground on this project by the first week of April. That is our plan currently, and then we'll proceed through the construction phase after that point in time. So we're very pleased about where we are. We're very pleased with our relationship with the city over this, and I'll be happy to answer any questions after Rich later.
Let me say on this. This is as the state goes forward on the project. I think it's fair to say that they've committed to continue to dialogue, to meet with Freddie, especially since it's your district. You have a special interest in what's going to happen, but to have more community engagement so that the public can hear more about what the museum's going to mean to this community going forward. Let me close by saying, this administration, this mayor is committed to the market. We're going to make this market a successful venture. You might recall that two of the most important nights of Mayor Berry's life occurred right here in this facility. the second of which the night in which she was elected mayor. So she has a deep, abiding love of this facility, and everything we're going to do going forward is designed to commit to make this market even more important to the community and sustainable for the long term, along with the staff. So, Councilman, thank you for having this meeting and this community opportunity, and we will stay around for a little bit to answer some questions as you go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Want to give you an opportunity to speak tonight, but I just want to say briefly how this initiative started was that for most of us on the campaign trail, we heard a lot from the public, whether we ran at large or in the district. Most of the people that we ran into wanted to know what's going to happen to the farmers market, what's the future going forward, and can you assure us, Mr. Candidate for office, that you're going to work in the community's best interest? So when we got to our codes committee and I became chair, I reminded the committee what we heard from our neighbors, and we set out to have a listening tour, both of the farmers market and the fairground. So tonight is that night for the public to step up and share with the council, the people that will represent you on a day-to-day basis in conjunction with the mayor's office to let you know what the future of the farmers market is going to be going forward. So having said that, we've set up a camera, we've set up a microphone, and we ask that you come in your own way and speak for 3 minutes. You can go on a little bit further since we don't have as many people, but we would like to hear from the public because this is a listening tour. We're setting out to listen from the public. This is not a bully pulpit for the council. We have our opportunity to speak. We want to be able to tell Mayor Berry when we file our report, this is the concern of our neighbors. So having said that, I want to invite you to the microphone to share your opinion, and you can speak on the subject of the farmers market. So having said that, the microphone is yours. You're the public. Please take advantage of it.
Hi, my name is Scott Moskovitz. I've been coming to this market since I was 5 years old. As the vice mayor said, I was in the back of my grandfather's truck. Many of you might know me. I've been a merchant and hopefully a leading merchant in this community for over 40 years. If you remember Moscow's, David's Cookies, Nashville, I'm one of the founders of Nashville, so I've been around. I've also been on this board. I was appointed to this board by Mayor Bredesen. And I will tip my hat to say I think the market has come a long way from a lot of negativity of impropriety when I was on the board to straighten things out. But this would be an amazing opportunity. I'm so excited to hear what's going on with the state. There were inklings of that. This museum can only help to draw traffic and to make this part, which I think is probably, you would disagree with me, but this is the easiest part of the market. The hardest part of the market is when you're dealing with farmers and you're dealing with fresh goods and you're dealing with produce. I've come to several farmers market board meetings, just sit in the back. While I'm not a person that really understands the, say, the nomenclature of how the city works and how the open sessions work where members maybe can't speak to themselves and say, here's where we want to go. This would be my observation. You don't have one merchant on your board. You have restaurateurs, you have other people that are involved, but you don't have a merchant. And if you're going to develop this area out here, we have some of the greatest merchants in the country. And I'm talking people that turn a key, open a door, hire and fire, and understand product mix. I'm one of those people that know it. And I've let the mayor know that I'm eager to serve. But from a standpoint of how you're going to develop this and how you put a mix together and how you make this great, I'll conclude with this. My wife and I have been fortunate to travel all over the world. And she'll tell you, drives are crazy. When we land in Palermo, Italy, we go to the farmer's market. It's the first thing we do. It's the breadth of the city. In Palermo, there is no farmer's market. It's a street. And you go to that and you emanate out to see where the people are, whether it's Florence, whether it's Paris, whether it's Nashville, whether it's Seattle. I've done extensive research on what happens in Seattle. This is the heartbeat of the city. And to bring merchants and bring people from all involved, I would implore you to bring people in who are great merchants in this city to help you expand the vision and help you look at how the pieces interact and how you get the mix right. That would be my 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Hello. I'm a yellow dog Democrat, which means I would rather vote for a yellow dog than a Republican. Let's keep it simple. Nashville is totally losing its character. Big bucks are stealing Nashville of its character. You know, you might as well be the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Let farmers market be farmers market. Leave it alone.
Thank you.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Thank you. Next. Anyone else? I have a question. Okay. Joey?
Yeah, I was curious if Tasha could talk about the impact of losing those sheds to the day-to-day operations of the farmers market.
Where are you going to farm? Then you got to build another farm.
Go ahead. Yes.
Okay, so just in case people didn't hear whatever, most of your questions, can you say it one more time, loudly? Yeah, that would be great. I just don't want to misrepresent your question.
Yeah, Joey Garrison. I just was curious if you could address kind of the impact of potentially losing those sheds and sort of what takes place there right now and how you would do things differently if this comes to fruition.
I appreciate you asking that question, Joey. So that's been on the minds of our staff quite a bit lately as we've been trying to navigate this and determine what our go-forward plan is going to be. We're also in the process of preparing for next year's budget cycle. So as you might imagine, we need to answer those questions really quickly. So the really good news that I want to share is that we're working on what I'm calling a migration plan of how we take the merchant community that has been participating on the north side of the market, that's craft, flea, and special events, and integrate them into the South Shed area to create a diverse, eclectic mix of a merchant community. We're very challenged by doing that because of the amount of space we're going to have available to us. But we're kind of going back to the drawing board on that. We're looking at the amount of space that the two sheds offer us, as well as the space outside of the sheds on the south side of the property, so that we can offer anyone who has been retailing at the market, we can offer them a potential new home on the south side. So we're committed to that. We're continuing to work on what that plan looks like. And when that plan is ready to be shared with the public, it'll be shared at a board meeting and then again at another community engagement meeting and a merchant meeting.
Would you have space for everything that currently takes place here at the farmers market? I mean, for some of the vendors that you currently have for those things you mentioned not be able to put that?
We would have space. It just might not be the same amount of square footage. So we currently lease very large spaces that are often too hard for the merchants to fill. So we may have to shrink the amount of space that we make available. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Thank you. Did you have anything else?
No.
No. Okay.
I think that's
Okay. Jim?
Yeah, Jim Schulman, I'm a Metro Councilman. Mr. Moskowitz, another question for you. So I look at the farmers market the same way you do in terms of a central gathering place and some place that people from all over the country want to come and participate in. So under the former director, always wanted to put a giant chess, like not a chess set, but something on the ground where you had giant movable pieces, because I saw that once when I was traveling around the world. And I saw that, and there were people would bring their lunch, and people would be playing chess right in the middle of a big giant marketplace. So I don't know if you do chess or checkers or whatever, but I guess the idea is, give me 2 ideas that you would suggest to make this into something that, as you travel around the world and see different places and stop at farmers markets, what would you do here that's really kind of outside the box thinking to make it into a place where people talk about it and show up? So, and you may want to come back to the microphone. Here. Well, just for purposes of the camera, you may have to talk here.
This would maybe rankle a few people, but I have always had an aversion to the flea market and looking at that merchandise. And I've said, as you have less space, then the space needs to be more focused on what a general merchandising and marketing attitude is. You wouldn't put another Jamaican restaurant in here. You've got a great one. You probably wouldn't put another ice cream shop in here. You've got a phenomenal one. You've got a great beer garden. You can go on and on. But when you look at what we have an opportunity to do in this shed, it's like, look at the product mix. And I don't have, all of the ideas, but I think from a standpoint of, I know there's been discussion about anchor tenants, and I think that's a phenomenal idea. I think this is a food venue. That's what a farmer's market is in many, many ways. That doesn't mean there can't be another merchandising scheme to it, but I think a grand plan of saying, what are the pieces missing? People come down here to shop. And while it may be a little bit inconsiderate that you look at a flea market type situation, I look at this as a more of a Middle Tennessee eclectic mix of product. Not be my choice to tell someone they can't sell whatever they want to sell, but with space limited and looking at what your theme is, follow what is going on even in, as taboo as this would be, malls today. Malls are now gathering places. They're places for people to go have an experience. This has so much phenomenal ability to be an experience. So what I was saying is, I don't have all the ideas, but I look at maybe different segments of people that are in business doing hand-to-hand combat every day. I'm a little bit over the hill. I'm not doing it like I once did. But, I know what, you look at what's happening in our food scene today. People are coming here to dine in Nashville. Never in my life did I think I would see that. If someone would have told me that, I'd have taken that bet and I'd have lost. So, we like to think we were a little bit of an impetus in the beginning towards that. Maybe that's patting ourselves on the back, my wife and I doing that. So what I say is, it's about the theme. It's about the whole overview. It's the whole umbrella of what it is. And, I invite you to, maybe it's not board members, maybe it's an outside committee appointed that says, here are the people that are come and bring ideas and say, here's the way the mix needs to work. It's about people saying, wow, I went there and I was able to do all these different things.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Well, Tasha, one of the things that I particularly heard throughout my campaign journey was the change in the farmers market, in that the local producers of fruit and vegetables were no longer to sell here because the board changed the direction in that if you didn't grow products here in Davidson County, then you would not be welcome at the farmers market as a producer. Not that I believe that, but that is a question that has been out there. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to address the difference between the vendors, your producers, and the nature of that decision.
Thank you. That's a great question. So this time last year, our board reviewed and approved the implementation of merchant standards. Those merchant standards clearly outline the types of businesses that we felt would continue to improve the long-term vision of the Nashville Farmers Market. That included merchant types for producers, so those are people that are growing product regardless if it's local, regional, or beyond. That also means people that are processing product, local, regional, or beyond. We have artisan categories. These are people that are making prepared foods and retailing them. You often see them here behind a 6-foot table, retailing their jams, jellies, pimento cheese, juices, tamales. And then we also have craft categories. These are handmade products, so they're soaps and woodwork and needlepoint, body care products, things like that, things that people have handmade themselves. And then the final category would be our flea. And in the flea area, we didn't necessarily eliminate any of the categories. We just put standards onto the flea where we hadn't had those in the past. So the only area that was eliminated as we moved forward with this implementation was the area that allowed individuals who did not grow or produce the product themselves, whether it was local, regional, or beyond, to participate at the market and retail that product. So that's typically known in the farmers market world as resale. And we had 4 large resale vendors that were here throughout the year, and they were selling products that they sourced from local farmers. They sourced it from produce warehouses and beyond. And that was the category that was eliminated. When that was eliminated, it then offered more space for people that were growing their products locally and regionally and beyond to have more space to participate at the market. And what you may have seen if you came to the market this season is you saw us go from having about 10 farmers on a peak season basis to over 60 farmers because we offered up that space to them.
So I guess a question would be, local Nashvillians that have produced in this area for a long time, if they didn't produce oranges or strawberry that were grown in Davidson County, would they possibly be a vendor in the produce area?
So I think there's a distinct clarification that needs to be made because we hear this all the time, and some of it unfortunately is that when this information goes out to the public, often people focus on certain words and it misrepresents what the standard is. So for one point of clarity, it is, if you produce it, it doesn't matter where you live. Okay, so if you grow your tomato in Hawaii and you want to bring it here and sell it here every Saturday, come on, fill out an application, pay the application fee, and you're good. If you grow that tomato in Davidson County, you're good. Sumner County, you're good. Kentucky, you name it. We have farms that are participating here from all over the Southeast. But a lot of people seem to be interpreting that it has to be from Davidson County because the market is located in Davidson County, and that is not our rule. What you'll see as you go through is the merchant community is encouraged to display signage that we provide to them on their product table that says whether their product is local, regional, or beyond. The requirement that people mix in with that is that if they don't grow it, they can't participate here, and that is correct. If you don't grow your product or process or make your product outside of the flea area, you cannot participate at the Nashville Farmers Market at this time.
Okay. Freddie?
And Mr. Chairman, thank you again for coming out to listen. I think for the Codes Fair and Farmers Market Committee, I know all 3 of you as my colleagues on the council, it's great to have you here, and I think understanding some of the context of where this building sits. This has not always been the home of the Nashville Farmers Market, but it has now been for more than a decade, and it was designed as a part of watching this area of the city that had become somewhat hollowed out over time start to reemerge with the Bicentennial Mall project, the relocation and kind of reinvention of the Nashville Farmers Market. And then I know Rich Riebling has, in bridging 2 mayoral administrations, watched as Sulphur Dell itself as a location for a new ballpark has come online. So we have this amazing stretch of land from Roselle Parks Boulevard to the river bounded by Jefferson Street and James Robertson that we really get to watch reemerge. And so if people have not been tracking carefully what's been happening with the State Museum, that's going to amount to a 9-figure capital investment in this corridor, in addition to the 7 figures that it sounds like could be reinvested into the farmers market. So that's really an opportunity for this corridor of Roselle Parks and Jefferson, but also for the broader stretch of land from Rosa to the river. And I hope that we all think creatively and aspirationally about what we can do with that.
Thank you. Tasha, if you'll just come back, and any other council members, and I certainly appreciate your explanation on this, and these are
Sure.
questions that were raised that people wanted to ask but weren't here for whatever reason. Going back to the farmers market, as a lot of people in Nashville knew it, local producers, local people, and I understand the transition. Are we in any way discouraging local Nashvillians in any way not to participate in the farmers market as they once knew it? And I'm giving you this opportunity to clear this myth up that may be out there, not necessarily the committee's
Right.
ideas.
I don't believe that we are. I don't think that our activities or our merchant recruitment activities, our community engagement events would discourage any Nashvillian from participating at the market, whether they wanted to participate and shop here or dine here or support one of the merchants or wanted to become a merchant. We offer a variety of consultation time periods in our office where we will sit down, Jackie, Carolyn, Charles, myself, we will sit down with individuals and try to help them figure out how their business model can fit into the market community here. We reach out through neighborhood groups and through community engagement activities, social media, advertising to try to stay relevant and connect with the folks that support this market. In fact, we have an individual who has recently started a Friends of the Nashville Farmers Market group, and I encourage anyone who's interested in what's going on at the market and wants to help and be a part of a large conversation going on to be a part of that group. You can find it on Facebook. In addition, Jackie and I both have a food security background, and just very candidly, when I got to the market, I felt like it was a real gap for us that we are about food. People come here to shop for food, they come here to eat, and they come here together as a community. And one of the critical pieces that we were missing as a farmer's market, even though we were being nationally recognized and everyone talks about what a great place this is we were not serving the underserved. And so we have spent the last 18 months working side by side with food security advocates and national partners like United Healthcare and AARP Foundation and the USDA and the Tennessee Association of Farmers Markets to lead the charge to get a very significant investment of $6.6 million allocated to farmers markets in Tennessee and Mississippi to incentivize people that use their SNAP card to purchase fresh fruits and vegetables at farmers markets to be able to buy more. So what that means on a fundamental level is that if you use your SNAP card at our market and with one of our farmers market merchants, so if you go over and see Troy Smiley and you want to buy a bundle of turnip greens and some sweet potatoes, you can use your EBT card. And for every $10 you use, you can go to a table that Jackie will usually be sitting behind starting in March and April, and you can turn in your receipt and you get a voucher for $10 more. Actually, they're tokens, they're $1 tokens. And you can do that as many times as you need to at the market to fill up your pantry at home. We want the folks that have the least amount of access in our community to have a great amount of access here. We've also worked with our friends at International Market over the past year to look at their produce availability and bring in products that we gathered from a survey from the neighboring community of the types of products that aren't readily available in season from our farmers market community, but could be brought in through their lease arrangement at the market from various other providers. And so just recently, they've gone in and started retooling their fruits and vegetables section, and they'll also be adding a frozen section in the future. So we're working very hard to make sure that food, healthy, fresh food is accessible at the market year-round, whether it's inside the market house or out in the sheds.
Thank you. And I guess just finally from the chair, in terms of financial stability, would you say that the market is self-sufficient?
No, I look forward to the day that I can look you and Rich Riebling and everyone else in the eye and say we're there. It's a long journey. Going to be very candid about that. And we were headed down a path that we thought we were getting close. And we're very excited about the new developments with the Tennessee State Museum and the potential partnership and collaboration that we can have with one another. But we are looking at the loss of a piece of property that was included in our long-term plan for financial self-sufficiency. So I applaud the recommendations of the mayor's administration to look at the $4 million and hold some of that back versus reinvesting it in the facility right off the bat, and help us get through the next few years in determining how we reset the market and fully utilize the facility, and then be able to overcome some of our revenue generation hurdles. I can't at this time tell you when we're going to get there, but I will tell you that the staff and the board, we are all committed to turning over every rock and evaluating every idea to figure out how we can get there and still meet the community's needs.
Would you have any recommendations? Would you have any recommendations at this point?
At this point, we're going through the process of doing a new facility needs assessment based on the fact that we're going to be losing 2 sheds. We're going to focus first on infrastructure. The priorities of the reinvestment funds, which will be about $3 million, will focus on infrastructure. So these are the non-exciting items like fire suppression systems and stormwater and metering in each one of our interior establishments, and lighting and safety call boxes, things that people don't necessarily want to talk about. And the second part of that will be the revenue generation stage. And so we'll look at how we can create kiosk structures and extend our patios to offer us more opportunities for leasable space. We'll look at the south sheds. We'll go back to our enclosure ideas around the south sheds and work with the city and the state to find a good plan to create a more all-seasons environment, which will increase our year-round revenue opportunities and encourage the merchant community to continue to extend their season at the market.
Thank you. Members? Are there any other expressions, concerns, opinion? Please step to the microphone. Well, we have to have your voice. We'll wait.
Just hold it, because I can't seem to get it in there.
My name is Anita Reisman, and I am a vendor here, Sisterhood of the Tamale. And we just started in November, and it's been fabulous. We love it here. It's like our town. It's a great place. Highly recommend anyone who wants to do this. It's life-changing. But one of the concerns Debbie and I have, my partner Debbie Lane, is that once construction starts, and we are super excited about innovation, growth, and all, but usually I'm a downtown person. I live at the Stallman, and people don't like to come downtown if they don't have good parking. And I totally get we're going to have great parking once this is done, but how is it going? What kind of like in the meantime, how are we going to be able to do the parking if we cut back on half of the parking and it's already smash packed on Saturdays and Sundays? Is there? Absolutely, that's our only concern.
Well, we have that same concern, and I will tell you that we have already begun quite a few conversations with the city and the state about how we're going to address the interim parking solution and the long-term parking solution. So while I don't have final details to share with you today, We are very hopeful that when we have our annual merchant meeting on January 29th, and we'll send out an additional reminder about that, that we will have the first phase of that parking plan ready. There are going to be some bumps in the road. We talked about this in our staff meeting last week. With any major construction plan going on around our property, we know that it's not going to be easy. We know that there are going to be community members that aren't going to be aware that there's construction, and they're going to get to the market and get frustrated, and they're going to turn around. We want to avoid that at all costs. So we will be good stewards of our own voice, and we will make sure that people know where they can park. We will continue conversations with the city and the state. We will encourage the city to offer us every resource they have available. And to get people here, whether it's through public transit or through alternative parking solutions, so that we can continue to grow this experience and continue to support the businesses that operate here.
Great. You had a question? Okay. All right. This is your opportunity. This is a listening tour. Anyone else have an opinion or concern as to the future of Farmers Market? We want to welcome that opportunity for you. Okay. Well, if there are no more, we've been joined by another colleague, Mr. Lionel Green. Thank you for coming. Well, we will end up, Mr. Schulman will come to you and tell you where we're going, and we will follow a report with the mayor's office, let her know what we've heard. I'm sure that there are probably more concerns as people begin to look at this on Metro 3. They'll have other ideas, and if you like to share with the committee your opinions or concerns, get them into the council office, and when we develop our report, we'll go from there. Just finally, Mr. Jim Schulman will come to us and bring us to an end. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Sam, and I appreciate everybody being here. Tasha Kennard talked a little bit about the community engagement plan. Obviously, there's another piece that was added to it all tonight, so there may be even more people who are interested in kind of what's going to happen, particularly with the new museum being built over here on the corner, kind of the change in focus over to the south side of the building, and this extra money that's going to come in that I know is not going to go for all these superlative things, but a lot of things that need to be done. And just listening to people, obviously, there's a great sense of pride here in the farmers market. It serves a major purpose. I love coming here. I know so many people do. I know there's a parking issue now. There's a parking issue now, and there's going to be one that we have to deal with. So we're going to go through some growing pains, all of us, as we go through this change. But you all were going to do kind of a community engagement process anyway. So if you don't mind, I know you talked about it before, but if you don't mind, just kind of go back over the process of what you plan for the next 18, 24 months so that, again, everybody knows what's going on.
Okay, so we have a variety of different individuals that we're going to try to get this information to as quickly as possible. So we will have a board meeting. Our board is aware of this. They're aware of the lease amendment, but we will be discussing this at our board meeting on Wednesday, January 27th at 8:30 a.m. Those are always public meetings. We meet on the fourth Wednesday of every single month. The meetings typically start at 9:30, but this one, because we are expecting a little bit more on the agenda, we're starting it at 8:30. Those meetings are always publicly noticed. We have two board members that are here with us tonight that I'm sure if you want to ask them some questions afterwards, feel free to do so. Immediately following that board meeting on the 29th, we will have our annual merchant meeting. Our annual merchant meeting is the time that we typically share any updates with our merchants that might affect their businesses at the market. So that'll take place on the 29th. We have notified our merchants of that meeting since late November. We'll continue to notify them of that as well. Following that, in February, we will have a third listening session at the Nashville Farmers Market. And I got to be honest with you, I hope that one day when we do one of these listening sessions, we fill up the room. I think that's a good goal, that we've got so many stakeholders that are excited and interested in what's going on at the market that they come and they know that they will be heard. That is our goal. We want you to be heard. So I encourage your participation when we have that meeting in February. We will announce that. It'll most likely be around the 3rd week in February. And then we will go back to our 4th Wednesday of every month board meeting and share the feedback with our board. And we will continue that process on a quarterly basis over the next 18 to 24 months of having community engagement sessions followed immediately by a board meeting. And we'll openly share that information with the Codes Fair and Farmers Market Committee. We will continue to work with Metro 3 to get them out as many of these events as possible, and they have the resources to cover. In addition, we've got our Friends of the Nashville Farmers Market group that'll continue to offer opportunities for people to get engaged outside of meetings. So with that said, that is our plan right now. I think that we are only as strong as our community supports us to be. And so I really encourage you to keep coming back, keep asking great questions, and keep encouraging us to do more.
So, Tasha, let me ask you actually 2 questions. If people want to come to the listening session, and I know it hasn't been exactly set at this point in February, how do they find out?
They find out because we treat those listening sessions as public meetings.
Okay,
because
so where would you put the notice? Where, if somebody wanted to find out when and where, what should they be looking for?
Nashville.gov is the #1 resource for all city public meetings, so you can go there and look at any meeting that's taking place at any given time. Secondly, I would go to the NashvilleFarmersMarket.org website, or I would follow us on Facebook or Twitter, because we're going to hit all of those different areas. A new thing that we just started doing is we also post those public meetings on Nextdoor, and that covers the Capital District as well. So we're trying to get more of our business community members engaged.
Just a suggestion, and obviously you don't have to follow it, but you know, when I come down here during lunch, I mean, the place is packed.
Yes.
So obviously everybody has to come through one of these doors. You may want to think about putting it on the notice, and even with some type of signage right in the middle, so people really can't miss it, because part of your constituency is here every day.
That is a great idea, and we are going to take you up on that one. So thank you.
And then one other suggestion, for people who can't come to one of these meetings, obviously this is Nashville's farmers market, so there's a lot of people who really like it, utilize it, but may not be able to come to a listening meeting or a listening tour. Is there another way, if they want to get information to you, they've got a great idea that they just want to share because they've seen it someplace else, or they're concerned about something, or they see something that they want to get some information to you? Is there a place for them to leave a message? Should they send it to your email? What's the best way to do that?
So the best way for us to completely gather and understand your concern, your idea, and be able to contact you back is to email farmersmarket@nashville.gov. That email is available on our website and on all of our social media accounts. It's farmersmarket@nashville.gov. That helps us get back in touch with you as quickly as possible. If you're not an email fan, that's okay. Call the office 615-880-2001 and ask to speak with Carolyn, and she will get me on the phone with you as quickly as possible. Or she'll set up a meeting for us to meet in person. So, you know, it's really about finding the best way for you to get in touch with us, and we will do our best to get back in touch with you. We have staff here 7 days a week, so feel free if you can't find a staff member. We also have security officers. You may see them here tonight. A lot of people try to share information with our security officers, and they're really good about locating a staff member and letting us address that community member's need at that time.
Great. So I believe that's it. Council members, anything? Any additional comments? Well, on behalf of the Codes Committee, we certainly appreciate everyone being here. I know it's a cold evening outside. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow in terms of the snow, but we appreciate people coming down. I know that we have another listening tour next week, next Tuesday night at the the fairgrounds at 6 p.m. at Wilson Hall. People are invited to come to that as well. And I would encourage people, if they have comments, not only even after the news tonight with the new State Museum, but also just overall, this is a great place. It's a great place to come. It's a great place to come get food. Love what you're doing with, dealing with food insecurity. Great ideas coming down here. If you've got ideas, if you want to be a part of it, participate and come and let people know what you think. So with that, unless there's any additional comments, seeing none, I think we stand adjourned. Thank you.